Hello and welcome, Pokemon fans. There are those who call me Bard Breaker, and it's time for another Pokemon Challenge run. Last time out on Bard Breaker Z, we successfully played through Pokemon Soul Silver with a team of only truant Pokemon. And that was a fun but long run. Let's do a solo run this week that some of y'all have been asking for. Today we're going to ask and answer the question, can I beat Pokemon White with a team of only a single Tropius? Tropius is this grass flying type Pokemon that was introduced in Generation 3. We have a base stat total of 460, which puts us on par with Pokemon like Solrock, Dodrio, and Mr. Mime. Our best stat is HP, but we also have decent defensive stats. Our offensive stats and our speed stat isn't really fantastic, but we've been dealt with worse before. Our moveset isn't fantastic either, but we do start with the same type attack bonus move in Gust, and that's pretty nice, and we do get Growth right away as well, which will be nice to boost up our special moves that we'll be getting later. We have some solid choices here, but not a lot of type coverage at all. Our TM list doesn't improve things very much either. Again, a lot of solid moves, but not a lot of type coverage. Considering our final boss will have Reshiram, a fire type, this could be a bit of a pickle for us. In any case, guys, at this point, I remind you all that I write my scripts as I go, so at this point, I haven't started playing the run yet. Everyone take your guesses down below, and please, the almighty Algorithm, god of the YouTube algorithm, and let me know if you think I can do this or not. I'm going to say that we can. We've certainly dealt with worse, but I imagine we could be in for some challenges along the way, particularly against Reshiram, but again, we'll have to see. Finally, before I begin, let's take a final look at the rules. In battle, I can only use Tropius. I'll need other Pokemon for HMs, but I won't be allowed to use those Pokemon in battle. I also won't use any items in battle, although held items and items outside of battle are going to be permitted. And finally, I won't use any cheats, glitches, or exploits, aside from replacing our starter with Tropius. So let's do it. So to start the run off, our friends come pay us a visit with some Pokemon they stole from the local playground. I've used the Universal Pokemon Randomizer to replace Snivy with Tropius so we can do the entire run with it. Since we're still playing with a grass type, not much is going to change, including the type advantages. So to get our run started through Unova here, we have to have the obligatory fight with our friends, because apparently that's what you do in the Pokemon realm, immediately unbox small animals and then immediately fight each other with them. But because we're so full of hot air, all it takes is a couple of gusts here and a couple of gusts there to blow our friends clear into tomorrow without any trouble whatsoever. Checking out the Tropius, we can see that we're calm-natured, so that means more special defense at the expense of attack. Not the greatest, but it's actually alright since we'll be boosting our special attacks with growth for most of the run anyway. Our ability is Chlorophyll, so our speed will be boosted in harsh sunlight. Well, alright then, that's pretty useless, but whatever. Eventually we get to nickname Tropius, and my fiance came up with Pina Colada, because tropics? After that, we set about our adventure by stopping to catch a Patrat for Cut later, nicknaming it Snipticus the 51st, long may he cut, and proceed on into accurate Llama Town. Once there, we pay ourselves a visit to the Yu-Gi-Oh! Duelists Anonymous meeting here, and we get our first taste of the bad guys for the run, Team Evil, and their boss, N. Fortunately for us, our Bananasaurus is stronger than his cat, and just a couple of gusts are all we need to secure the win and move on with our first real victory in tow. Shortly after that, we have yet another rival fight against Bianca. And fair warning here, if you've never played Black or White or seen somebody like me do a run in it before, there are a ton of quote-unquote rival fights along the way. A lot more than you find in other games. Case in point, after beating Bianca, we have another fight right here in Striaton City against Sharon. Once we've easily dispatched them both though, we're free to challenge the local gym warden though. Now, unlike in other games, there are actually 3 possible gym leaders to face here. Which one you get will be based off of the type of Pokemon you chose at the start, giving the gym leader the type advantage over your starter. Since we replaced the grass starter, we have to face the fire type gym leader with a Pansear. Now, it just so happens we're still a grass type, so this is actually a terrible matchup for us. And sure enough, we lose 2 consecutive attempts at it, even with growth boosting our gust damage. Alright, let's grind a couple levels out, because they are stronger than us, and we'll try this fight again. We are in crit it to win it range now, but if we're gonna need luck, we might as well grind a bit and make it easier. 2 levels later, and I try the gym again. Fortunately for us, the fight goes much better this time. With just a couple of growths in place, we can quickly defeat the gym leader's team. In fact, we didn't even take any damage until an Incinerate from his Pansear, which Incinerate sounds like it should do a lot more damage than it did. But I'll take 12 or so HP damage from full health. We quickly find ourselves victorious and have secured our first badge of the run. But we aren't out of town just yet, we have a lot more to do. We have yet another fight against Sharon. We go for a couple of growths to get us started, and once we get those 2 in place, we're easily able to gust our way past his Tepic and Purloin without any incident. Good thing he didn't have his team use any fire moves. Gotta love the AI sometimes. Right after that, I stop and pick up a Roggenrola for strength later, nicknaming it Bicepticus the 51st. The 51st. I almost like that better. I'm leaving that in. Long may he live, and move forward to our next encounter with Team Evil, who are quickly dispatched with a couple of Razor Leafs. We aren't done in the cave yet though, we stop and catch a Woobat for Fly later, nickname it Flapsity the 51st, long may she fly, and then we can swiftly depart the cave for greater riches and glory. And our next stop to those riches, we get to Nakreen City where we're challenged by N. But much like the previous rival battles, we haven't hit too much of a brick wall yet with him. Of course, it doesn't hurt that we have the type advantage on most of his team for this fight, but hey, a win's a win anyway. And speaking of wins, we actually aren't finding one here against Lenora, the normal gym leader. We're not hitting super hard with Razor Leaf, even with it being boosted by growth. We make several attempts at her, but we just don't get anywhere. Alright, we're gonna have to level up again a bit, it would seem. Even a few levels higher, we still aren't making much progress against her. We can make it past the Herdier, but her Watchog brings us down with Crunch, and we're smacked down hard. We're gonna need a few more levels, again. Lenora can be a stonewall in a lot of these runs, and she's living up to that here. A little bit more time later, we come back and we have the absolute fantastic stroke of luck we needed here. Her Herdier starts by missing 2 of its 3 takedowns, awesome, while we're setting up our growths. Once we have 3 in place, we go on the attack with Razor Leaf for a one-shot. Next up is Watchog, and by the grace of Algoris, we land a critical hit, securing us the one-shot for the win and our second badge. From there, we make our way all the way to Castelia City, where after running out some more of Team Evil do-batters, we make our way to the Bug Gym. And this will perhaps come as a bit of a shock, but we have absolutely no problem here whatsoever. With just a few quick gusts from our plant dinosaur, it's enough to knock Weevil and his bug monsters right back to the Shadow Realm. Shortly thereafter, we have another rival fight against Bianca, but there isn't a lot of challenge going on here yet. Though just to make things interesting, at one point she does manage to put us to sleep. At least we're not in Gen 1 where you can't attack on the turn you wake up. So once we do manage to wake up, we're able to deal with her remaining Pokemon. Her Oshawott can't stand up to this prehistoric plant thing, and we've seized the day. Though we quickly have the day nearly stolen from us again, as literally just around the corner is another goddamn rival fight against Sharon. And we're not even halfway there. Whoa, chicken on a bear, and we have to make another childhood friend cry. Though this time he actually succeeds in doing a fair bit of damage to us. That flame charge really doesn't do us any favors. But with just enough HP left in the tank, we get lucky and his Liepard goes for Torment, which allows us the chance to use a final Razor Leaf and secure the win. Once we make our way into Nimbasa City, we take care of a couple of things. First, I go by the TM for Return at the Pokemon Center. This will be nearly twice as strong as a good stomp once we max out our friendship, which if we aren't already near, we should be soon. We also take the time to glamorize and accessorize this Pina Colada with more grass sass. So did we just make Mega Tropius? If we did, I demand all back royalties and future royalties in perpetuity from Game Freak. After that, we have to make our way to the Carnival, where we have to fight against an anthropomorphized alphabet, N. This time we go ahead and set up not 1, not 2, not 3, but 4 grows, and you can see that still doesn't allow us to totally one-shot his entire team. Well, it does allow us to one-shot most of his team. His Sigilif actually survives, but it doesn't do much to hurt us, and we're quickly able to defeat him. Guess he really should have won us the big stuffed camel at the carnival after all. Next up in town is a fight against Elisa, the electric gym leader, and I make several attempts here, but I'm just not having any luck defeating her. We're part flying type and part grass type, so her Emolga has something to hurt us either way. I try several times, but we just aren't having any luck. Alright, let's go try and grind a bit and we'll see what happens. I try again 4 levels higher at level 35, and even though we're 10 or so levels higher than her team, we're just not getting the job done here. I can barely make it to her Zebstrika. Her Emolgas are just too much for us to deal with. Between their typing and their moves, they're about the worst matchup we can have as a Tropius. So I spend what feels like a long time grinding. Remember, in Black and White, there's a level curve to the XP. Basically, the higher level you are over your opponent, the less XP you get rewarded with. So for every level we eventually get to while grinding, it subsequently takes more encounters to reach the next level, as those same Pokemon will now be worth less XP. Eventually, after 5 more levels, we get to level 40, and I don't know if our friendship went higher or if those 5 levels are really all it took, but we just mopped the floor with Elisa and her Emolgas now. They're now a one-shot with Return, and the Zebstrika doesn't exactly hang around the dance very long either. Okay, I'll take it. A win's always a win. Riding high on our victory here, we have another rival fight against Sharon as we try to leave town. But because we're 15 or so levels higher now, we have an apparently maxed out Return, and yeah, he's not much of an issue at all. Even without same type attack bonus or something like a Silk Scarf, we really do intense damage with Return. That's awesome. So now we make our way west to Driftvale City, and I've always hated this part of the story specifically. We get our asses chewed out by the gym leader for apparently letting Team Evil get away, then literally right after we go find them, he fucking lets them go again. Really? Come on. In any case, we can at least take out our revenge on him at the gym, right? And yeah, we mop the floor with him and his team. I throw our growth in for good measure, and we actually wind up getting more growth in the tank thanks to Torment requiring us to alternate our moves. Clay is a ground gym leader though, so we don't have any trouble landing super effective damage for the win. Excadrill posed the most challenging of the 3, but even he with some growth didn't stand in our way for long. The gyms might be easy thus far, but those final boss fights are going to be super challenging. But that's a problem for future Bard Breaker to deal with. Now before we can leave town, say it with me, we have another rival fight. This one against Bianca. And as one might expect, we have a quick time just sweeping through her team with mostly Return. We even get a critical hit one-shot on the Masharna, which was nice. Lastly, I get some Magical Leaf action in against the Oshawott to finish the fight. Mistralton Cave is just up ahead, and just again, it's a time for another rival fight, this time against N. And this time, while I don't have a ton of trouble, I can't just walk over his team either. He has a couple of steel types which can resist our moves pretty well, combined with their use of Iron Defense to further chunk Return, and we're left with Magical Leaf and Gust. It ultimately doesn't prove to be too difficult though, but like I said, all this really is just lulling us into a false sense of security. We're gonna get our asses handed to us at the end, don't you worry. But that time isn't just yet. We have a date with Skyla, the Mistroughton City gym leader, and a flying master. And so we start off using Return. I eventually decide to just give her a taste of her own medicine and swap to using the flying moves against her. We're able to gust past her initial offering, but then we level up and learn Air Slash. From there we can just use Air Slash to zip past the rest of her team. I had actually thought that the flying gym leader might be a bit of a problem due to our grass typing, but nope. That was easy. Another easy win in the books and the story can continue. Speaking of easy wins, Sharon challenges us to another round of Super Smash Bros. Unfortunately for him, he chose to put all his chips down on Ness when the proper choice is always Ganondorf. After a tiny bit of do-si-doing, we managed to get a strong Warlock punch off to end the fight. Why are there so many rival fights in these games? What purpose do they serve? They're not even remotely challenging. Finally though, we've run into a real obstacle, the Ice Gym. I hadn't even thought about it, but we're 4 times weak to what's here and we're boned. Look at how much damage this random Cryagonal is doing to us. And this is just the second random trainer in the gym you have to fight. Alright, we're gonna have to level a bit and see what happens. After a bit of grinding and leveling, we get up to level 60 and try the gym again. Eventually we make our way to Bryson, the gym leader, and it's time for honestly the hardest gym match, at least on paper up to this point. Vanillish is out first and survives a return to hit a Frost Breath, but eventually goes down to our Dinosaur Tree. Where things get really interesting is with his frozen Snot Bear. It lands a massive Icicle Crush to drop us all the way down to just 6 HP as we finish it with 2 returns. No room for air here, as out next is a Cryagonal. I fortunately outspeed it though, and we get a one-shot return to bring the Snowflake to its snow knees. We win the fight and secure our 7th badge. All this talk about worrying about the Reshiram, and I forgot there was an ice gym that we were going to be 4 times weak to. Wow. Before we leave town though and find somewhere warmer to go, I stop and catch a Bearctic for surf later, nickname it Aquades the 51st, long may she swim, and can finally proceed east towards greater conquests. Once we have another doodly rival fight against Bianca. And truth be told, as she has been all run, she's just wasting our time. Her Stoutland does have Intimidate now, but we can just use Air Cutter to get around that since it's a special move. We don't even need to use Growth to boost it, we just Air Slash over her team to victory. We stopped only once for a moment or two to change up and one-shot the Samurott with a Magical Leaf. Again, she's just here to slow us down, but she's not even playing the part of a speed bump very well. And of course, the final attempted speed bump in our journey through the main game is the 8th gym leader, Iris. She's a dragon specialist, but she doesn't have any cool dragons like Dragonite, but instead has Pokemon like Haxorus and Drudagon. Perhaps if she bothered to cultivate good Pokemon like the aforementioned Dragonite, she'd actually have more of a chance against our Air Slash and Magical Leaf. Slightly future me here, I admittedly don't know how that accent is gonna sound. It's 2 in the morning when I'm recording this. We're gonna leave it in and see. As it is, she doesn't, and so she doesn't even have a chance and goes down nearly as quickly as the fight began. Speaking of quickly as it began, once again, we have another rival fight against Sharon. They just keep coming, folks. Help. Though, just like usual, he has nothing on us. We use Return on his opening Pokemon, and then it's Air Slashes galore the rest of the way, though hopefully and finally we can close the door on these Bianca and Sharon fights. Alright, finally, after much delay, we managed to make our way to the Elite Four at the Pokemon League. One nice thing about Black and White is that you can challenge the Elite Four in any order that you choose. I make my first choice Marshall, the fighting gym leader. His team isn't a pushover though, they have Stone Edge which can do a lot of damage to us, and his Sawk has Sturdy so we can't one-shot it. Fortunately for us, because we have the type advantage and most if not all of his Stone Edges missed us, the rest of his team were no risk whatsoever. I decide next to fight Caitlyn the Psychic Master, and she doesn't pose much of a challenge either. I spend the first couple of turns against her Reuniclus setting up a couple of Growths to boost our Air Cutter, and from there we just break wind right through her entire team. Her Sigilif can be a problem since it knows Ice Beam, for some reason, but we manage to avoid all serious damage and we destroy her to the core. It really is something when you can sum up an Elite Four fight in just a couple of lines of dialogue. Anyway, next patient. Our next patient is Grimsby, the Dark Master, and we take our first turn setting up a Growth against his Scraggly and then set about kicking his Keister back to Valhalla. Honestly, the biggest obstacle here against him is his B-Sharp. It resists all 3 of our damaging attacks, and Grimsby just hemorrhages full restores onto him to keep him alive. Eventually, he runs out of full restores as we've just been stuck here using Magical Leaf over and over until the B-Sharp finally goes down. After that, it's more Air Slash action to finish the fight and secure our next win in the Elite Four. We're 75% of the way there now, and last up is Chantel the Ghost Master. First up is Cofagrigus, so we take the time to set up a Growth and set about attacking. We miraculously avoid being burned by Will-O-Wisp 3 consecutive times, which if I'm doing the math right is only a 1.5% chance that it misses 3 times in a row, and we Air Cutter it down. Out next is Chandelure, so it's a fire type we have to be worried about, but it's more Air Cutter action to the rescue and we bring it down. From there, the rest of her team is a pushover. Jellicent goes down to a single Magical Leaf, and as her final Pokemon Golurk, and just like that, we win. And actually, we took no damage in the process. That was awesome. Now, granted, those 3 missed Will-O-Wisps really saved our ass there. After that, it's time for some post-Elite Four shenanigans. The game's not over yet. We haven't been crowned champion and the credits haven't rolled. That's because we have to defeat Team Evil once and for all. The first thing we have to do is catch Zekrom. Yes, catch, and yes, have to. You can't run from this fight. You can't knock him out or you'll have to redo it. This is mandatory. Eventually I whittle him down and catch him in a heal ball out of spite, nickname him Obligatrice in protest, and commence with the storyline. Unfortunately, we have to face N now, and the game will auto-move Zekrom to the front of the party. There's not much I can do here. I could swap out, but that would let Reshiram get a free hit in, and I don't like filling my party with Pokemon in the event something gets forced out with an attack. Honestly, the best thing I can do here is use Pokeballs until the Reshiram knocks out the Zekrom. While yes, that technically does count as using items in battle, but technically it's only to get around this forced mechanic that not only forces you to take Zekrom, but forces it to the front of the party. Once we get knocked out, we can go back to the Pokemon Center, deposit Dollar General branded Red Eyes Black Dragon, and return to the end fight with just Tropius in tow. Unfortunately, once we get back to N, we discover we just don't have what we need here. We take massive damage from Fusion Flare. And unfortunately, even if we do manage to get past the Reshiram, we don't stand a popsicle's chance in hell against the Vanillix. A statement I don't think most people would ever hear said. We get hit with a 4x quad effective Blizzard to end us. We're just gonna need more levels, that's all there is to it. So the best place I can choose to grind here is in Victory Road near this doctor. The experience is passable when coupled with the Lucky Egg, and we have the type advantage and moves that make grinding here pretty decent. Plus I don't have to go anywhere to heal up, but right here, so it's a pretty decent place. After we hit level 80, I go try N again. And even at level 80, we're not having the luck here that we need. That Reshiram and Vanillix are just too much to deal with as a 1-2 punch. I did actually manage to get to the Clink Clank once or twice, but it's not consistent at all. We're gonna have to keep leveling or we're just gonna have to get amazing luck here. While leveling up, I decide to pick up a Woobat to continue our lineage for Flash, not that I need it though, nicknaming it Flashelius the 51st, long may he shine, and finally try N again at level 85. Finally, after taking literally 2 episodes of The Simpsons worth of time to grind up to level 85, we can try N again. Since Fusion Flare is still doing around 100 or so points of damage, I can only set up about 1 growth safely. But that's all we need to one-shot it with Air Slash now. After that, Vanillix goes down to 1 Air Slash as well, and honestly from there, the rest of his team goes down quick. Honestly, the biggest challenges were those first 2 Pokemon. The rest of his squad don't prove to be any challenge at all. I could see the box legendary being an obstacle, but an ice cream cone? Wow, I would not have guessed that going into this run. After defeating N though, I immediately lose to Getsis on the backs of a Toxic from his Cofagrigus. We're gonna try that again. And it takes a few more tries, but eventually we get a run that shapes up like this. Cofagrigus opens with a Protect, which allows us to get in 1 growth of setup. From there, we have to go on the attack. We one-shot the Sentient Coffin with a single Air Slash. Hydreigon comes out, but we flinch it with an Air Slash and finish it with a second. B-Sharp is next, and we bring it down without too much incident despite the type resistance. Seismitoad is next, but a single quad-effective Magical Leaf is enough to bring it down. Electros is next, but we hit it with an Air Slash, take a bit of damage off Flamethrower, and bring it down with a second. Last out is Buffalant. We bring it down to a sliver with an Air Slash, and in a truly glorious level of strategery not seen since George W. Bush, he uses Head Charge, which while doing a bit of damage to us, inflicts recoil damage to him, knocking himself out and winning us the run. And there we go, the credits roll and we get ourselves into the Hall of Fame. Wait, no we don't. Credits roll, so the run is technically over, but we're not champion yet. We have to go beat the Elite Four again to get our hand at the champion. And I know y'all will at least want me to attempt to do that, so let's see what happens. The last time through, the Elite Four wasn't too bad, but they're much stronger now, and our level lead will have evaporated, but we'll have to see. And, okay guys, let's just cut right to the chase. This is not happening. The only one of the 4 that I can defeat is Marshall the Fighting Trainer. All the others I can only get through at most 2 of their Pokemon from their team. I spend a fair bit of time trying each member of the Elite Four over and over and over again, and I could never get beyond their second Pokemon. I'm sure this may be more doable at level 100, but honestly it took nearly an hour just to level up 5 levels from 80 to 85. And it's not worth the effort to sink that much time into trying something to grind when I can just call this one here and get another entire run done to work on for the weekend. Let's call this one here, folks. Again, maybe someday I can revisit this, either by leveling up or using something like Double Team, but there's just not enough time to sink into that to make it worth it here. Besides, the credits already rolled, so in my book, this run is done. Thank you all for watching, hope you enjoyed. I don't know what my next run's gonna be, but feel free to leave your suggestions down in the comments or over on my Discord server at the link in the description. Until next video, guys, have fun and go catch 'em all.